Hey, so welcome to Mathstoria, and let's have this topic, the continuity of a function. So a function is a continuous at point x equals c if f of c is defined and the limit of f of x as x approaches to c exists, and the last one, the limit of f of x as x approaches to c equals to f of c. So take note that a function is discontinuous at x equals c if at least one of the three conditions is not satisfied. Then we have this given, so using the definition of continuity, so determine whether the function is continuous or not. So we have this given function, then at c equals 0, so using these three conditions, so first we need to test if f of c is defined. So f of c, but c equals 0, so f of 0. Then from this function, so we just need to replace this x by 0. So we have 0 minus 1. Then over 2 times 0 squared minus 0 minus 1. Then simplify, so 0 minus 1, that's negative 1, then over 2 times 0 squared, this one is 0, minus 0, then minus 1. So we have negative 1 over negative 1. So therefore, f of 0, so negative 1 divided by negative 1, this one is positive 1. Then, for the second condition that the limit of f of x as x approaches to c exists, so we have the limit of f of x as x approaches to 0 because c is equal to 0. So from this function f of x, so we have 0 minus 1 then over 2 times 0 squared minus 0 minus 1. So we have negative 1 over negative 1. So the limit of f of x as x approaches to 0 is also equal to positive 1. Then for the third condition that the limit of f of x as x approaches to c equals to f of c. Since the limit of f of x as x approaches to 0 equals positive 1 and f of 0 is also equals to positive 1, so therefore, the limit of f of x as x approaches to 0 is equal to f of 0. So since we have the three conditions, so therefore this function is continuous at c equals 0. Then for this given, so at c equals 1, so for the first condition, f of c is defined. So f of 1, because c is equal to 1, so from this function, so we have 1 minus 1 over 2 times 1 to the power 2 minus 1 minus 1. So 1 minus 1, this one is 0, then over 2 times 1 squared, that's 2. Then negative 1 and negative 1, that's negative 2. Then we have 0 over 2 minus 2, that's 0. So therefore, f of 1 equals, since 0 divided by 0 is indeterminate, so therefore, f of 1 does not exist or not defined. And again, if one of the three conditions not satisfied, so therefore, this function is discontinuous at c equals positive 1.